Hello. This topic I'm talking about for today, Tuesday teaching, I have only said in almost every conversation, I want to create a TikTok on that. And what I hit up against is this is a topic that is epically profound and rather detailed. I never could get it into a minute. I am not even going to try to set the timer for this because I don't know how long it's going to take. I hope to be succinct. I'm going to edit it down so that it is, and we can just hit the high points. And there's a lot here. And it's also simple. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. It's just epically valid, and it's going to make a difference in every area of your life. And so it's one of my favorite topics. Most of what I'm speaking from today is what I discovered from Ed Hallowell in his book, ADHD 2.0. I'm gonna use my own words of what I discovered, how I see it in my own language, but so much came from the second chapter in the book. This is the topic of the two neural networks in our brain. Task Positive Network, TPN. So I'll use that acronym, Task Positive Network, TPN. And the other one is Default Mode Network, DMN. These are two neural networks in the brain. Task Positive Network is the neural network that is online when you are doing anything that you're doing. Another way to look at it is the neural network when you're focusing, when you are not thinking about yourself. That is the Task Positive Network. It's online when you're doing anything that is not connected to self. An example for the ADHD brain, Task Positive Network, you can get stuck in it where you just hyper focus and you don't go to the bathroom for however long, or you're completely unaware of time, like you're completely unaware of self. Task Positive Network is this side, Default Mode Network is this side. I have heard Default Mode Network, which Ed Hallowell calls it the demon network. He actually calls them angel and demon. The problem that I have with that is I can demonize DMN network, and it's not bad. They're really neutral at the end of the day. It's the effectiveness in which they're working. It's the way in which it's serving us and how it's supposed to be. So Default Mode Network comes online, and its intention is awareness of self. One component looks at the past and one component looks at the future. Your Default Mode Network is going to be able to pull things from history, and it's also going to think about the future. So it's going to put things into the future. And so that is Default Mode Network is where we get our creativity, we get our expression, we get our imagination, where we get the whole ability to connect all the things, like that gift that we have in ADHD comes from the DMN network. So when the DMN is working, is having that creativity, it's considering the past, it's considering the future, it is a good thing to serve us and help us. So these networks are neutral. They're meant to serve us for a reason. It's the functionality and how we use them is where the breakdowns come on. And there's a very, 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 very real impact of why, for the ADHD brain, there's a unique position of why this is so challenging. So now we know the networks. Now we're going to talk about the difference between a neurotypical and a neurodivergent. The neurotypical has an expression between the two networks like a seesaw. One goes up, one goes down, one goes up, one goes down. And they're pretty in comparison. They're gonna be variable to the same degree. If someone's in a lot of tasks, then they'll come back to the same degree of imagination. And this isn't a perfect rendition, but in general, those are what the neural networks are doing. And they have brain imaging that shows this. This network comes on, this one goes off. This one comes on, this one comes off. So again, that teeter-totter experience, and they work like this. Neurotypical. Now, with the neurodivergent, this is, again, proved by John Gabrilini is the one who's done the research behind this, if you want to dig into him further. John's last name is Gabrilli, John Gabrilini, if you want to research him at MIT. So he's done the research on this. Now, for the ADHD, it's on at the same time. So while it doesn't always go on at the same time, there's not this seesaw pattern. So we could be doing the thing and then DMN comes on, and then we get distracted and we focus on that, and then we work ourselves back, and then Task Positive comes on again, and then we do this and then we come back on here. And so this whole experience is not a seesaw. It's kind of I almost see it of this, and then they can be on at the same time. And so I don't know all the science behind what's going on, but I do know that they did state that they are on at the same time. And so there's a competition between the two. And more often than not, the default mode network wins out. At least I know specifically with ADHD. I say neurodivergent and I don't know the other neurodiversities, so I want to check myself and say ADHD because this is the ADHD brain that I am talking about. So with that, the DMN network that is online at the same time as a task positive network can create a lot of challenges, to say the least. The thing again I want to mention is that default mode network is where we get our creativity, our connection, all the good fun stuff that we love about ADHD. It's totally that. And it's also where we get the tortureness of, if that's even a word, the brutality that comes with the default mode network rumination and the default mode network judgment and self-criticism. Because again, default mode network is a self-awareness part of your brain. And so this wasn't said in the book, and it's something I talk about a lot, is this concept of you can't believe beyond what you believe about yourself. So I'm going to shift from what I got from the book to what I see and what I believe currently for myself and the message that I'm about. It is the fact that the default mode network is going to essentially be a loudspeaker in your brain for the beliefs that you have. That is one reason why rejection sensitivity is so real. It's, I have a message, I have a neuro network, a default mode network firing at the same time I'm doing anything that leaves me judging myself all the more. We don't totally get a break from this network, where again, task positive network and a neurotypical is gonna get some break from that, and then they're gonna go back and they're gonna get a break from those noises. Where the ADHD brain, we can get a break. There is possibility. It takes work, and it just isn't our default. And more than anything, it is this concept too of those with ADHD have received like 20,000 more negative messages than the neurotypical. And so again, that loudspeaker has been working its entire life and capturing all this stuff from the past that's essentially giving you that you are bad, broken, and wrong. You have all the proof for that. Another component that they mentioned too with the judgment, there's a component of DMN network that actually does make some valid components of why there is a fear of self, why there is a fear and a component of self that is judgmental, because we have evidence. I'm gonna speak for myself, and I'm sure you have a story or two where you've said you were gonna do something and you completely forgot and dropped the ball, and someone was massively negatively impacted. Another example, I've left the stove on or put something on the stove and completely forgotten, like almost started a fire, where there's a very real world of DMN which distracts you from the task positive network of doing the thing. There's a very real world where that distractibility and making a mistake of that I can't trust myself on, because my brain will not always be predictable or dependable of having what I need to be able to do the thing that I need. So there is a very real world that there's a negative impact in DMN, plus we've had all these negative messages. So there's the component at the core of a very low view of self, low self-worth. So anytime the default mode network comes on, it's preaching the default message that it has, which I don't know too many people with ADHD that don't have the default mode network as I'm bad, broken, and wrong. I can't trust myself. And that's one reason why I say trust yourself to not trust yourself. You can be trusted, and you can leverage and go with the fact that this is something that I know I can't trust myself on, so I can trust that. So again, trust yourself to not trust yourself still is trusting yourself. And an example too, where I've shared on my cook stove, when I'm done with cooking, I attempt to build the default of this is the pot and I'm moving it back when I'm done to help see the flame if it's going. Again, why I like to call, and actually why I struggle to call it demon network, because it discredits the epicness that it can be. ADHD can be a gift when your default mode and the default belief isn't that I'm bad, broken, and wrong. I truly believe that's where things shift, and that radical awareness, radical acceptance, and compassion truly is the antidote and key to having the world work, because this network coming online, you can't change that. We can't change the fact that it comes on online at the same time. It's how can we take the message that's blasting in my head and shift it so that it's actually serving me. And I will say I have an actual legit example of this, because I've been doing this for a long time. It's like flipping the script of these really abusive messages. And if you watch my video from yesterday, I talked about a question of, am I verbally abusing myself? And I realized yesterday when I wrote out the things that I was telling myself that I truly am verbally abusing myself in the ways that I'm talking to myself. If anyone ever said the things that I tell myself, I would not ever talk to them again. And that, yeah, it's the voice I live with and the speaker that is there. And so an example of one that I've worked through is the concept of who do you think you are? That's a loud message that I'll get. It gets super loud. So being able to take that loud message that judged me and being able to redefine it and shift it to say, when I hear, who do you think you are? It's, yeah, who do you think you are? Like, I can be anything. Like, yeah, who do you think you are? I don't need to think I am anything. Like, being able to have that judgmental exact wording, taking the exact wording and shifting it so that it lives in an empowering context, and getting to that empowering context does take work because you're doing the work of rewiring, and it's possible. Neuroplasticity, as I'm sure you've heard it say, that our brain can change. The default ruts that you know to be true can change. That is something that we totally have access to. And neurons that fire together wire together, and so it takes time and work. And something I discovered recently in a podcast that was such a gift is that we often think that, like, I've got to like do the thing and focus on something for a ton amount of time. I think of like tests and stuff where they like study a bunch and they go take the test. It's kind of just how we've done life, or me, that's how I've done life with ADHD. And once I heard it explained that neurons don't need a lot of information, they just need a little bit of information to get them to light up, and then they keep growing and doing the work, like when you're sleeping and when you're not doing anything. It's a matter of getting it to fire so that it's working for you when you're not thinking about it. And so being able to get that brain to fire is where the gift of awareness, the gift of having things in your environment, it's one reason why affirmations actually are a gift. The challenge with affirmations is that if you don't believe it's true, you can't keep saying it and getting yourself to believe it. You can't get yourself to believe anything. That's why affirmations are so powerfully, because instead of saying, I am awesome, being able to say, what if I am awesome? Like instantaneously, your brain can open up a future in that DMN network that you didn't necessarily have access to, because you're bringing in that creativity, you're bringing in the beauty that is our brain when we are connected to the true goodness that is inside of us, which is the whole message. Even saying that out loud, my insides are struggling, and the fear of judgment of someone I know seeing this and they're like, no, you're bad, like you're bad at your core. It's a message we preach in our culture, and there's a lot of people who will make sure you know you're bad at your core. The thing is, when you believe you're bad at your core, you can't live beyond what you believe about yourself. And another reason why it's so frustrating is that neurotypicals, because they have this, they can be like, yeah, I'm bad at my core, and then I do the thing, and then I go off, like I do the thing, and then I think about it, and then just like go this way. If I believe I'm bad at the core, that's the message that shows up when I go to do anything. That is the overarching communication that permeates everything I do. So I like to say, yes, everything with ADHD serves every human, and it's a good idea for the neurotypical to help them in life. It's a matter of life and death when it comes to ADHD, because I say that and I hesitate to, because I'm like, that's dramatic. I don't like being dramatic, but it's actually that dramatic. Those with ADHD are 5 to 10 times more likely to be addicted. That the whole world of women with ADHD, 25% attempted suicide. The whole world of jails and things like that are massively filled with people with ADHD. They now are taking in-care treatment for obesity and food addictions. They were literally seeing the correlation between that and ADHD was so high that they're now wanting to screen for ADHD when people come in for in-person treatment. They also said breaking a cigarette addiction takes 8 components. Breaking a food addiction takes 300 components. So there's a very real reality that the addiction is there because there's this thing going online, and when you believe you're bad, broken, and wrong, and that's a loud message that you've got to do something to survive. You've got to do something to account for the brain. You've got to do something to soothe yourself. Another shift that I really got connected to in doing this research that I got so lit up about is the concept of self-coping strategies. I think of so many for myself that I have of self-coping strategies to help me get through the beliefs that are so brutal, and being able to shift the concept from self-coping to self-care. The thing is, self-care is a concept for ADHD that we just don't get. We've denied ourselves for so long, and our brutality from ourselves and how we treat ourselves is so hard. So it's literally like paving a new frontier. It's paving new pathways that haven't been existing before. And it's hard to believe it's necessary because you think you should just be able to do it. No, you have a real component, a real battle going on in your brain that is fighting for you in a way to be ruminating and destroying yourself emotionally, physically, mentally, because of the loudspeaker that you have going on top of everything that you do. And so I want to say that this is a scientific valid. I'm happy to share the stats and specifics. So if there's any questions, please let me know. I'm gonna say one more thing. This is why support and feedback is so key. Because we have a default mode network that tells us something, that judges something, that we do the creative action, we create the thing, and then we're left with this judgmental fear, which I'm present to right now because I created a video yesterday, and I'm present to the judgmental fear that no one watched it, and then my own self judgment and insecurity gets amplified, and the insecurity is so loud that it's like, I don't want to do that again. Don't make me do that again. It's so painful to do that again. However, when I avoid the creativity, I then check out, go to self-coping, where I'm going to check out on my phone for 4 hours or waste time talking about things or venting or creating drama because I'm too afraid and I can't get to the root of why and how to do the thing. So I get lost on that, and then that desire is still there to do the thing. So I put through enough time and I get enough courage to do it again. And then when I go to do it again, the same thing happens. And the problem is that the same voice, the same message, the same thing is there. And so a message I love to preach is the concept of how you do anything is how you do everything. And so it's every single moment you are getting an opportunity to see what message you have as a loudspeaker. And if you're anything like me, that message that in the loudspeaker is an abusive voice that does not consider your brain neurochemistry, the neurons that are A, the chemistry of ADHD in itself, and B, the neurochemistry of this TPN and DMN network. You're not considering the reality. And so again, I keep preaching these same messages because they're so loud, and I discovered them out there doing the thing of that together we can take care of ourselves. And so we need community to help us believe what is true, because we have a default mode. It's gonna happen. You can't willpower yourself out of this, which is the message we get preached in our society. Just try harder. You can't override a default message instantaneously. You can, however, begin to write new pathways, but it takes a component of it to be in existence, to be visible, to be reminded of that rewiring a neural pathway so that it's lighting up that possibility. An example I like to use too is when you start something new, consider yourself like Lady Justice. Lady Justice has a scale and her eyes are covered. If you're starting something new, you can't look into the future and expect to see what you want to believe, because you don't have the neurons to do that. They will, though, if you are sticking with it. And again, trust yourself to not trust yourself. How can you create something in your space that's in existence, that it's an easy, simple, I can do that on a daily basis, that lights up a new neural pathway? And I do believe that's one thing that is possible inside of the container of my Facebook group, if you're in there, because it's gonna preach that message of self-compassion, and I live it as an example in every moment of every day, role modeling what it looks like to do this, because I'm in the trenches. And I am working on launching a community that takes this all the further. And I wanna create things like I'm creating here, where education, compassion, lighting up new neural pathways that helps you bring yourself to awareness and compassion. Real life, giving you awareness on real life, and whole life, which lets you see that you are whole and complete. You're not bad, broken, and wrong. That those two components, when you allow yourself to be exactly as you are and not judge yourself and say, this is real for me. Real doesn't always mean true. So you will have very real, loud messages. Are they true? Are they serving you? Are they working for you? Or are they derailing you? And if they are derailing you, it's what's possible in rewiring those pathways. And there's so many tools and resources that I could go on forever about, and that's something I will continue to create. So more to come there. And if you are interested, know that those that ask questions get attention, kind of like it's like the neurons that fire together, wire together. If you want something, say it, because for example, those that I've talked to have birthed this video into existence because it's come up over and over and over and over again. So please be the squeaky wheel. Please ask what you want. Please ask questions. Please engage. Know that I get to see what's needed by people sharing what their real life is. Real life, what's real for you, helps me create tools, resources, all the things for this place to serve you and help you. move forward. So more to come on that. And I do want and continue to create containers for people to practice that, because that's what you get when you're in my Facebook group or really anywhere. It's that practicing what it's like to be your authentic self, to discover who you are, and to discover that you're not bad, broken, and wrong. You have a brain chemistry, a brain wiring, neural network pathways that are not working for you by the default. And shifting the default, while we will never arrive, we can make a massive difference by turning down some of those messages and turning some of the noise, negative noise, off. I'm gonna end this now. If this was of service to you, please let me know. Hope you have an awesome day. Take care, all the things. Talk to you later.